These days, the world feels very unpredictable. You open the news and it's always something. US inflation data comes out. Everyone suddenly talks about interest rates again. Then you get headlines about wars and oil prices, and the market reacts immediate. Everything feels makam. One headline can move the whole market, and in Malaysia, it's not exactly calm either. Bursa can rally for a few sessions, then suddenly you see a sell down. Money rotates between banks, REITs, plantations, tech, then the next week it's a different story again. So if you're feeling stuck right now, like you want to invest but you don't know what style to follow, this video is for you. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Huat Equity. I share simple and database breakdowns in Bursa, US and Singapore, using real numbers and the big macro story behind it. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this with someone who would find it helpful. Today I'm going to show you a real portfolio structure that did well in this constantly changing environment. This portfolio's market value is up 15.3% and hit a new all-time high in 2025. And the cash top-up is basically flat at minus 0.1%, so this isn't someone injecting fresh money, it's the holdings went up and/or paid dividends that contributed to returns. Now let's start with the sector structure. REITs are the biggest piece at 39%, financials are 23%, tech is 15%, property is 4%, and the others are 19%. I built this portfolio not to chase fast moves, but to stay steady and grow over time. Firstly, we have REITs with 39%. Because this is the cash flow engine. REITs are there for predictability. They usually pay distributions, and that cash can be recycled back into more units over time. In a setup like this, REITs are not about exciting growth, but for steady income, smoother swings, and long-term compounding through reinvestment. The REIT exposure is spread across IGB REIT, Sunway REIT, Pavilion REIT at roughly 10% each, and about 9% in Axis REIT. This way, the income stays diversified and the portfolio stays more stable across different market conditions. Secondly, financials make up 23% of the portfolio. Banks are a core part of the Malaysian market and tend to do better when money keeps moving through the system. Going into 2026, the setup is fairly supportive, with some banks having room to increase dividends, deal talks in the background, and digital banks pushing competition across the sector. A simple way to build this layer is Maybank at about 8%, CIMB at about 8%, and Public Bank at about 7%. Inari is more export-driven and closely linked to global chip demand, so it gives you exposure to the external tech cycle. While UWC is more order-based and tied to equipment spending, which behaves slightly differently across the cycle. Putting the largest weights in these two gives you the main tech exposure, while the remaining 4% is kept flexible, so you can add another tech name that you like. Property is kept at just 4% because developers are not the main focus. In Malaysia, property developers usually move slowly and depend a lot on sentiment and financing. In this portfolio, most property exposure already comes from REITs, which are more stable and pay cash regularly. The small 4% allocation is only to keep some exposure without letting the sector drag overall performance. If included, keeping it simple with CIMB property at about 2% and EcoWorld at about 2% is enough. The other 19% is the flexible bucket. It is there to add balance and support the portfolio without turning into one big theme. This is where you can place more defensive names like Tenaga at about 7% and Petronas Gas at about 6%. Then use the remaining portion for two more defensive names at around 3% each to keep this part steady and diversified. So that's the whole idea. One cash flow engine, one stability layer, one controlled growth sleeve, and the rest to balance the portfolio. It won't make you rich overnight, but it gives you a structure that can survive market swings and still grow steadily. For you, what kind of structure makes the most sense for Malaysia going into 2026? Comment below. If you want to learn more about how to allocate a portfolio properly and stay consistent through different market conditions, make sure to subscribe and follow me for more.